We got rid of Ashley, so passing James's part. Kim Stiffy and could you say, and they stole our fucking hearts. We drank one through the day, and we drank it till the night. 'Cause we're the NUFC, and we're fucking dynamite.
All right, lads and lasses, and good day, mates. Welcome to another episode of the Tune Under podcast, the Southern Hemisphere's favourite Newcastle United podcast. We're all here with smiling faces, well, I am anyway, because once again, Newcastle United have managed to get another victory, this time on the road against Southampton at St Mary's. Another invaluable 3 points. And we're going to do a review of this game and also a preview of the Chelsea game coming up at the weekend. And to do that with me is Ken's Craig, once again unshaven. Unbelievable, mate. What's going on?
I'm on holiday from work, and I've got an unspoken rule where I don't shave when I'm not at work. So I'm back there on Monday, so I'll come off Sunday night.
You look a proper scruff.
Thank you.
You brother. And Victory Dimitri. This is what I tried to say last time. Like I was trying to say Melbourne Victory Dimitri. I was trying to make it rhyme, and I was saying Melbourne Victoria or something Dimitri, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Victory Dimitri down in Melbourne. Still red in the face, and you just before we came on the air here, you had a bit of a fire issue in the house. Is this skin burn that I can see here? Is this still the after effects of your little honeymoon at the final Queensland?
It turned to color. I think now. I think my camera's a bit dodgy, but it's definitely not burn. It's color. But I did have a scare earlier, and as we speak, there is no fire in the house. But if you hear an alarm or doors banging soon after, there could be the house could be on fire. So it's a standby for now, but hopefully we're all good.
Oh wow, man! This could be on 9 News if your house starts burning down around.
Live podcast, house burns down.
Get in. Imagine the views.
Whoa, mate! Should I do it? Should I turn the heat lamp on again just to see what happens?
Yeah, set the carpet ahead. All right, well, cheers, Dimi.
Yeah,
cheers,
yeah.
Craig. We're all feeling good. Hope you all are too. Let's get straight into the match review right after this short break. Oop, mouthful of Guinness. All right, welcome back. So let's get straight into this review of the very welcome 3-point victory away to Southampton at St Mary's. I'm going to start, as I always do, with the teams. Probably should have started with Southampton, but here we are with Newcastle. So in goal, Dubravka. Then it was Kraft, Shaw, Burn, and Target. Then it was Shelby with the captain's armband, and then Willock, Gamiresh, Murphy, Fraser, and Wood. And if we look at Southampton, it was our old mate Fraser Forster in goal. I'm going to have a hell of a time reading out these names. Livramento, Bednarak. Sounds like a Star Trek name, doesn't it? Bednarak. Salisu. I like that guy. Walker Peters. Romeo. Ward-Prowse, Armstrong, God Almighty, Elianusi. Elianusi, is that right?
Yeah.
Breuer, was it?
Brewer.
And Che Adams. God Almighty, I'd have to read that out again. So coming back to the Newcastle team. So Dimi, I'll come to you first. Couple of surprise omissions there. Not even just for the first 11, but actually the squad entirely. No ASM. And no Big Joe in the middle. What were your thoughts when you saw that?
ASM, I wasn't as surprised. Eddie Howe in the pre-match press conference said he only trained once last week and he's still recovering from his injury. So I thought if he was going to play, he would have come off the bench. So him not starting, probably not a huge surprise. Joe Linton was a big surprise. I mean, we know he has been carrying the groin injury, but he's been an Iron Man for us. He's been starting and playing basically 90 minutes every week. So for him to miss a game's a big blow, and it was a blow, but it did provide the perfect opportunity for Bruno to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Craig, I don't know about you, but when I saw that Bruno was in there instead of Joe, kind of paused a bit and thought, oh, I think we're going to struggle a little bit in the middle. How did you see this lineup?
Yeah, I was a little bit worried, to be honest. No ASM, not even on the bench. There's an impact sub. No Joe Linton. I had no idea that he was still carrying an injury or even an illness. I think he had as well, on top of that. He obviously travelled down with the squad because he was in that team photo at the end and he was seen in the squad. So it must have been very close for him to make the game. But yeah, it was a worry, bit of a panic, thinking, Jesus, that midfield looks a little bit light, but thankfully it wasn't.
Well, Howe said after the game that he actually made the call on Joe yesterday, the day before the game, and because he had that groin strain that Dimi just mentioned, didn't train very heavily on the day before. I want to say Friday, but we're doing Thursday for UK people. So he made that call then. I guess he just came down with the rest of the squad, like Trippier's been doing for the past few games. Just kind of keep that whole mentality going. All right, so a few people on the bench that kind of don't really stand out too much. The bench actually wasn't that great, was it? A lot of championship players in that one. DeBolle there getting in. But okay, so that was the Newcastle team. The Saints team, I was doing a bit of reading on the fan forum for Southampton, which I like to do. Well, I only ever do when we win, actually. And they were kind of happy to see Salisu and Walker Peters make this game. But after the game, a lot of them were complaining that Walker Peters was played out of position. He was played down the left, and he's a right footer. And one of their other guys, Paraud, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. They all kind of, a lot of the fans, pretty much all the fans I was reading, they all expected or all wanted him to take the place of Walker Peters at the left and put Walker Peters down the right. Was there anything in that team that particularly worried you, Dimi? I mean, obviously, Ward-Prowse is fantastic on his day. Che Adams can be a good striker at times as well. Anybody really standing out in that team that made you worried?
Not particularly. I mean, I was hoping Salisu wasn't going to play because he's a quality centre back and definitely one I think we should be targeting for the summer. So he was under injury cloud, so I was hoping he wasn't going to start. I mean, Kyle Walker-Peters is a solid fullback, but he's nothing to write home about. It really is, for me, Southampton is James Ward-Prowse, and you just, every time you play Southampton, you're thinking, okay, don't give up any stupid free kicks, don't give away unnecessary set pieces, otherwise he'll make you pay. And luckily this morning he didn't have his set piece boots on, but he was definitely the one that I was very concerned about going into the game.
Yeah, I think probably most of us were actually. I don't think he had the best of games either. I actually thought Kyle Walker-Peters was really quite good. We'll get onto the game in a bit, but obviously he got the assist for the goal from Southampton. Craig, did you see anything jumping out of that team lineup that gave you the shits?
Nah, you just echo what Dimi said, to be honest. James Ward-Prowse, he is their danger man. And normally we do give away needless, stupid free kicks. So as I was talking around the build-up of the game a few days before, we need to just stop those, because if he gets within 20, 25 yards of a free kick, you pretty much know it's going to the top corner. His free kicks are sensational. But thankfully, his corners were very poor today. I know we'll get into the amount of corners they had, but I can't remember many of them beating the first man, which is great from our point of view.
Yeah, surprising day off for him. Very welcome for us, obviously. Just want to say also, it was very nice to see Adam Armour there on the subs bench. I think Saints bought him in the summer, didn't it, before the league started? Yeah. He hasn't exactly set the world on fire. I think he's only got 2 goals, but maybe he's starting a lot of games from the bench. I'm not exactly sure how many games he's played, but local lad, good to see him in the Premier League. And I'm only really saying that because he didn't score against us. That's the relief, basically. If he had scored against us, I would have called him an absolute shithouse, but he didn't. So I can give a pat on the back and say, well done. But honestly, it was good to see him. He actually looked really sharp when he came on as well, I thought. Gotten some quite good positions without really scoring any goals. So that was good. All right, so let's get into the game itself then. First 10 minutes, not much really to write home about. I think maybe we were of the better of the two teams, but not much threat from either side really. And then kind of after that 10 minutes, I think the tide started to shift a little bit in Southampton's favour, as you might expect being the home team. I think our midfield was in particular not getting to grips with the game. Shelby wasn't at his sharpest to start with. And so on the 25th minute, Southampton took the lead. Wasn't against the run of play or anything, so deserved, I think. And in fact, just before they took the lead, Borja had blazed over the bar from a really good position. And so the warning sign was there. A few minutes later, KWP, I'm going to call him from now on because I've already forgotten his name. He was down the left. He was allowed to cut inside and he crossed with his right foot, which is what you would expect to happen. It sails over to the back post where NUFC, he kind of gets in front or gets above his defender, heads it back across goal, and Armstrong, I think it's Stuart Armstrong, heads home from really close range via a real heavy deflection from BDB. Basically left Dubravka stranded. Craig, could we have done better with that goal, particularly with BDB getting tighter to the goal scorer? Because he was a yard or two away from him, and by the time he had time to turn around and react, the ball was already coming towards him. So what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think Dan Burn may have thought Target was going to clear it. So when it was put back across, his reaction was slow, and he just wasn't on the pace with what was happening. Took a deflection off his hip, I think it was, which took it past Dubravka, who was set to take the ball. I think Dubravka would have saved that otherwise. It would have been a clean sheet for him. But, you get these moments in football where things just don't go your way. But it's the first mistake he's made since he's pulled on that black and white shirt, so I'll forgive him for that one.
Yeah, I think he was just caught ball watching, actually, as the ball was lifted into the box. He was kind of caught watching it and he sort of forgot where his space was. Dimi, everyone would have known, all the players would have known that KWP was a right footer. They would have expected him to cut back in. So do you think Murphy should have done better to stop that cross in the first place?
I do. I think Murphy was a bit out of sorts in the first half, pretty much all game, to be honest. He got that early yellow card chasing KWP down their left flank, and you could just see he was nervous every time they were attacking us. He didn't know whether to get tight, whether to back off, and for that goal, he backed off and gave Walker Peters the chance to put a cross in. And at the back post, it was a 2-on-1. Burn probably should have gone with his man. He didn't. Tried to recover on the line, and in the end, messed up. Dubravka. It would have been a simple save. So it started from Murphy. The cross probably could have been blocked and could have been closed down a lot better. But for me, it was a symptom of the whole first half. That right-hand side of the pitch for us was quite worrisome, and that combination of Murphy and Kraft first, Armstrong and Kyle Walker-Peters was quite worrying.
Yeah, I saw some of the stats after the game. You know, those charts where they show you where the directions of play were, where all the intensity was, and it was exactly down that side towards Kraft and Murphy. Not much of a surprise, really. All right, so 1-0 down. Not really against the run of play, and doesn't matter how many games we win. I'm always thinking, oh, fuck, you again. You know, it's oh, bollocks. Where we're going to get a goal from? We don't have ASM. We don't have Joe in the middle. Wilson's knackered. Trippier, our best defender's knackered. Oh, yeah, man. I think it's just been bred into me the whole time I've been alive, basically. You know, just expect disappointment, lad. But 32 minutes, fair play at the boys. You know, they didn't let their heads drop. 32 minutes. Shelby picks up the ball down our left, just outside the box, probably, I don't know, 25 yards or something. And God knows why, but the two defenders that were near him sort of stood off and just basically give him all the time in the world. He takes a few touches, sets himself, has a good look, sees the run of Chris Wood, and does just a pinpoint perfect cross. It would have came down probably on the 6-yard box, exactly on the line of the 6-yard box. It was absolutely perfect. And Woods manages to get in front of Salisu. God, I'm going to do this the whole time. That guy, who's only just come back from injury, I believe. And I think when I was reading some of the forum posts, the general consensus was that he was brought back a little bit too early, despite the fact that they're all hoping that he did start. So, anyway, so Wood gets his head on it, nuts it in the corner. Old boy Foster, he's just like a complete spectator. His head's already sinking as soon as he sees that ball hit Chris Wood. Foster's like, oh, fuck, there's no way I'm getting anywhere near that. He's already like, oh, bollocks, that's in. It didn't even bother raising his arms. He's just like, yep, that's in, move on. You know what I mean? Hits the back of the net. Chris Wood peels away doing his kind of arm stretched Angel of the North thing. The noise from the fans, it sounded like a home goal. Honestly, if you watch it back, when they scored, it was like a few happy clappers and not much. When we scored, it erupted. It was absolutely sensational. Brilliant time for him to get his goal, given that we were 1-0 down, and we don't usually come back from those kind of situations. We have done it once, but not usually. And that really dragged us back in the game, didn't it, Dimi?
Absolutely. And we had been predicting on the show that Wood was going to score every week. So law of averages, he was going to score eventually.
We've been doing that for since he signed, Since he signed, we've been.
Since he signed, we thought, this is the week. But thank goodness this morning was the time. And you're right about Shelby. They backed off him way too much. And he's probably the one player in the team besides Bruno that you just cannot give that time on the ball. He can pick a pass 40 yards, 50 yards and put it on a dime. And he did. And fair play to Chris Wood. He made a good run and he finished a bread and butter header for him. And just on that point, you're saying we don't come back. I did read another whopping stat today that the last 40 Premier League games, we have only come back to win twice when we've conceded first. So,
God Lord,
that's probably why you're thinking in your head,
Shocking.
we concede first, we're screwed, because
Yeah.
generally speaking, we are.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Well, we're going to have a bit of a stat off later on in this poddy, so don't blow your load too early. Keep your best, keep your best ones for later. So Chris Wood drags Newcastle back in the game and 1-1. Thinking, all right, here we go, 1-1, brilliant. And yet, Craig, 36 minutes, so only 4 minutes later, Che Adams fires an absolute thunder bastard past Dubravka. He must have lost some hair, due to the sheer force of friction as that ball just hurled straight past him. You might as well have a different time zone. His arms were still going up and the ball was already bouncing off the crossbar and it went all the way out for a throw-in, if I remember rightly. Lucky escape that, wasn't it?
It was. That rebound off the crossbar could have went anywhere. Could have hit Dubravka's arse and rolled over the line. Thankfully, it was just at the right angle. Again, rolled out for a throw-in. So that went to our advantage. And you just think when they're getting shots like that, either going to go two ways. Either we're going to get slaughtered or they're just not going to have a great day in front of goal and we could nick it. And it was like you said, an absolute thunder bastard of a shot. I think the crossbar's still ringing now. And I'm glad it didn't smack Dubravka in the face as well, because he would probably still be down in St. Mary's on life support machine. Would have took his head clean off that thing. But yeah, cracking shot. Luckily, it just wasn't 2 inches lower, else it would have been 2-1 to them.
All right. His wig would have been flying, wouldn't it? The commentator was like, oh, I think he's hit it a bit too well. I'm like, oh, fucking hell, I hate them when they say that. What do you mean hit it too well? Hit it too well, it'll be in the back of the net, you freaking idiot, I don't know. Anyway, so that was a lucky escape. And, Newcastle lately have been doing that, haven't they? Going one down and then just hitting straight back and getting back into the game pretty early. It would have been a bit of a shitter had that been the other way around. But we get to half-time, 1-1. I should have had some stats, but I don't. So I'm just going to rock on straight past half-time. And actually, before I do that, it was interesting, actually, because in the post-match, Eddie Howe revealed that after they scored their first goal, we actually changed formation, which is like a novel idea, isn't it, for a Newcastle manager to see something not working and decide to change it?
What are those?
It's like, it's mental. It's like he's doing this coaching thing. I've never heard of it. But anyway, so apparently, we set up as a 4-3-3. And then after they scored the first goal, it was obvious to everybody, really, all and sundry, that the midfield was being overrun. And so Eddie Howe decided to change it to have two defensive midfielders, 2 6s, as he termed it. And so that was the idea of that, was to kind of wrestle some control, I think, from that midfield area and stop us from being overrun. And I got to say, I guess it worked, because into the second half, and I want to try and put this in words that actually kind of do it justice. I mean, as if it wasn't glorious enough watching Chris Wood get his first goal that we've been prophesizing for, 3 months or whatever it is now, 2.5 months. On 52 minutes, Dimi, a corner. I think it was Target. It could have been Fraser. I can't remember who took the corner.
Target, yeah, it was Target.
Target, yeah. It's long. It's deep. It goes over the top of everyone. You've got the BFG, BDB at the back stick, and he kind of does what the Southampton players did for their goal. He heads it back into the danger area, and it falls to Bruno. Now, we should talk about this at length. I mean, so it falls to Bruno. He's facing the wrong way. He's had a fairly good game. He's facing the wrong way, though. He's right in the box. The ball falls to him. Normally, you'd expect some player to go, oh, I need to bring that down with a touch, turn, and then do something. Nah, not Bruno. Nah. Egan's, I can tell by the flight of that ball that I can get me heel or my foot to it. I'm going to mule kick it instead towards the goal, because that's what normal people do. So there he does. He sticks his foot out. Gets a good contact on it. I think it's helped by the height from where the ball comes down from BDB. He's all the way up there, amongst the stars. He's nutted it down. It's got a bit of stink on it. Bruno just has to do a little bit with his foot to give it a little bit more, redirect where the ball's going. It takes all that pace through. And Dimi, talk us through the rest of it. So he gets his foot to it. And how did Forster not save that? Because if you look at the screenshots in the photographs, he's staring right at the frigging ball as it's coming towards him. So how did he not stop it?
I think he's just in awe, like everyone, like all of Geordie Nation was. I mean, the audacity to try that, to be honest, only a Brazilian would try that, number one. And the confidence to back flick it when he was standing on the keeper. If you watch his run, he's on the keeper. He sort of gets shoved by Forster towards the 6-yard box, and the pure filth and just arrogance to try that, I mean, was absolutely mental. And the scenes were wild. The scenes in my house were wild. The couches might not be the same after that goal. So it was definitely a moment to savor, and to think that we've got a player who can do that, number one, technically, and who has the confidence to do that. It's words can't describe what that did.
Yeah. Now, we had a bit of a discussion about this, didn't we, on the chat? I took a certain opinion. Pretty much everyone else disagreed. My opinion was that it's one of those situations where you hope for the best, but because you're not looking at the goal and you don't know where the ball's going to go, it's kind of a bit of a hit and a hope kind of situation. Because he doesn't know exactly where it's going to hit on his foot for a start, so he doesn't know exactly where the ball's going to go afterwards. And if you watch the goal, he turns around and sort of pauses for a minute and realizes that's actually gone in, and then peels away to celebrate. Not taking anything away from the fact that he tried it in the first place, mind you, or that he was able to get such a brilliant contact on it either. That's all absolute genius. But you could do it 100 times, and probably only once will that actually go straight through that crowd of people and the goalkeeper. That's just my opinion on it. Craig, that was a goal, I think Dimi just said, in front of the away section as well, and they went absolutely mental, as they always do. 3,500, I think it was, or 3,200, something like that, on a Thursday night. Absolutely ridiculous. How did you feel watching that goal go in? And I assume you've probably watched it about 1,000 times all day, haven't you?
Well, first, when Chris Wood scored, I walked away foot with that one. She wasn't too best pleased. But then when Bruno scored, I think I walked the rest of the street up. Genuinely, I was lost for words. In our little group chat, you'd think I just mashed the keyboard with my head because I was literally speechless. Just loads of random letters of it. I couldn't believe it. Even on the replay, I was thinking, is that how he scored? Really? I thought it just, again, bounced off him and went in at first, again, as a total fluke goal type thing. I know this technically is a fluke goal because it's like 1 in a million type thing. It's not your average goal that people score. But to have the audacity, the confidence, the ability, even the thinking time to want to do that is just sensational. And if that's just the start of beginning of what Bruno can do, long may it continue. Sensational.
It was definitely one of those kind of streets of Brazil type goals, wasn't it? Where you just go for like a flare touch and hope for the best sometimes. And no, absolutely fantastic. Bruno enjoyed it as well, evidently. All right, so Newcastle 1-0 down, 2-1 up. Still got a long way to go. That was 52 minutes when the goal went in, so still an absolute age to get through. The immediate 5 minutes after that goal was quite interesting as well. We turned it into Barcelona all of a sudden. It was like 5 minutes worth of absolute dominance against Southampton, who didn't know what the hell was going on. I think they were just completely shell-shocked. 5 minutes of possession, of attacking. It was like something like 82 possession, I think the stats was for the previous 5 minutes, which was absolutely mental. I mean, it did our final stats pretty good, but yeah, it didn't stay that way, obviously. Southampton managed to ride out that particular storm and pretty much took control of the rest of the game. I mean, I think it's fair to say Newcastle was sitting deep and trying to hit on the break, which you would expect for an away team anyway. Craig, right at the end, when everyone's nerves start to get shredded when you're watching Newcastle, because there's rarely do we have a game where it's done and it's, you can just sit down and enjoy it. It's nearly always shitting yourself for the final 15, 20 minutes. Right at the end, Southampton came close 2 or 3 times, and Dubravka, Christ, he made some essential last-ditch saves, didn't he?
Oh, he won us the game effectively. Yes, the goals were fantastic and whatever, but Dubravka, he didn't have really that much to do during the game. When you think about it, he didn't make that many saves in the first half. He had the one that cannoned back off the crossbar, but the save, I think it was in the 91st minute, something along those lines, in the 6 or 7 minutes of added time that there was. It was low down to his right. It was just one of those reaction type saves, which you'd expect him to make in maybe the first 10 minutes of a game when he's fresh, he's energetic, but not after playing 90 minutes worth of football and they've been almost shooting on site wherever they could. I said again in the group chat that if that was De Gea, Edison, or Allison, that would be classed as a worldie. But because it's Dubravka, it's just classed as a good save, an average save. It was a match-winning save, and it was phenomenal. He's back to his best based off that performance there. That was as good as a performance from his original debut against Man United, and that he was just an absolute wall that game, and he was today as well.
Yeah, you got beaten by a deflection that nobody's going to save, unfortunately. Otherwise, that probably would have been a clean sheet, given how the way things turned out. That actual save, the one that you're talking about there, I think he was obviously surrounded by a bunch of people, and I think it was Chadams who got a touch on it, a header, I think it was, or maybe it's his foot, I can't remember. And it managed to squeeze through the people, and it's kind of one of those ones where you just watch despairingly in slow motion as it kind of creeps in the corner, and you're like, fucking hell. But he was going in the wrong direction as well, and he somehow managed to kind of adjust himself and claw it away with his big palm. And for once, give him credit, he didn't pass it straight to the frigging opposition either, which I've whinged about a few times on the pod. But I think even the save before that was just as impressive. There was a pile driving shot towards goal, and it probably would have crept in under the crossbar. I think this actually led to the corner that led to that chance that we've just discussed. And he gets a fingertip on it, and he hits it off he gets a fingertip, it bounces off the crossbar, goes out, gets the corner, and then he does that other save that we've just described. It was, for like as you say, for guys just been standing around doing naught for 90 minutes, apart from pick the ball out of his net once, it was a fantastic bit of play from Dubravka. Hopefully, you think about the outfield players, but hopefully Dubravka's starting to find some of his form as well. God knows we haven't got much in reserve if he's not. So it ends 2-1 to Newcastle away. St. Mary's, unbelievable. 6 minutes of extra time that we had to see out. That was awesome. Dimi, can you possibly sum up that performance over the full 96 minutes? Maybe compare it to Brighton, because I think there were some similarities there.
Yeah, it was patchy. It definitely wasn't our best performance. We didn't control the game for probably more than 35, 40 minutes. But what's been happening is even when we're not in control, we're not shipping loads of chances. I mean, Craig just talked about they had a couple of chances at the end when they were throwing everything forward, but it wasn't as if Dubravka was making saves every 5 minutes. So you like how that even though when we're out of control and we're not keeping the ball as well as we probably need to, we're still structured enough behind the ball that teams aren't getting in behind us and they're having to resort to 25, 30-yard strikes to try and score. So if that's the way we're going to go, we'll take it. And a sign of a good team is when you're not playing the best, you keep winning. And we remember we forgot how to win at the start of the season. Now we've forgotten how to lose. We don't know how to lose. We're just, not that we're asking our way to wins, but it's even we're not performing our best, especially the last two games where we're getting the 3 points.
Yeah, it's just been an incredible turnaround. And Craig, on the day, defeats to Watford, Leeds, and Norwich meant that was a pretty decent set of results for us, wasn't it?
We just seem to be picking the right ones at the moment, don't we? There was times at the start of the season where every result was going against us. Now every result seems to be going for us. It's superb. I think Leeds, they got, was it 3-0? They got beat off Villa.
Yeah.
Home game as well. You'd think they'd have that new manager bounce. Was that a decent performance against Leicester? They were lucky to lose that one, but they got annihilated today. Watford, I think that was 4-0 against Wolves. We had a goalkeeper calamity in that one, which played into our favour, obviously. And, Chelsea, they were always going to beat Norwich. It was just a case of by how much. I think they beat them 7-0 in the reverse fixture earlier on in the season. So they've put 10 past Norwich this season. So that's a good indication of what's going to happen this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, you could have expected them to struggle with what's going on. We'll come on to that soon, but sign of the quality. Still managed to get the game done. Norwich can sometimes pick up results. Yeah, but you'd expect Chelsea to win that one. Let's have a look at some stats. Oh, before I do, I would like to say that I think it's fair to say there was a bit of shithouse tactics going on by, in particular, Emil Kraft. It felt a bit like he was time wasting at every single opportunity that he could, going down with this or that. And I mean, in fairness, he goes off eventually. But Eddie Howe says that's most likely just cramp. So sometimes I think cramp is a code word for not cramp. I think it's sometimes a code for being shithouse. And I think some of the Saints fans definitely picked that up in the forum when I was reading it. And I think it's fair to say that, yeah, looked a bit suspicious at times, didn't it? Especially when we're getting overrun and it was a case of trying to break up the play. But here's some stats anyway. So 68% possession to Southampton, 32 to us. That's kind of par for the course pretty much for us these days. They had 14 shots to our 8, which is surprising. But only 5 of those were on target to our 4. 12 corners to 5 shows the idea of the run of play. And then 6 fouls to them, 7 fouls to us. Kind of normal stats, I think you'd have to say. All right, let's get some man of the match. Dimi, let's have your man of the match first, please.
It's a tough one today. I don't think there was a standout performer for 90 minutes, and Bruno didn't play the full 90, so it's probably hard to give it to him. From what Craig said, I'm going to give it to Dubravka for those last-ditch saves at the end, because like he said, without those saves, we probably drop 2 points or potentially lose the game. So even though he didn't have a lot to do, those saves were crucial, and let's give it to Martin.
Craig?
Yeah, I've got to agree. Dubravka, he won us that game. Absolutely sensational performance.
Well, that's a full house then, because I was going to say Dubravka as well. I do want to give a good mention out to Fraser and, of course, Bruno. I think Bruno came off because he's not quite ready for the pace of the league. It's a little bit slower in France, and looked a bit knackered. Fraser looked absolutely just exhausted when he came off because he never stops running. And he runs like twice the distance of everyone because he's got little diddy legs. But yeah, I think because he had to make such vital saves at the end there, and he probably would have saved their goal had it not been for BDB being in the way, I'm going to give it to Dubravka too. Good on you, mate. So a couple of more things. I I don't suppose we can really talk about this game properly unless we actually touch upon all the pissing and whinging from Hasselhoff, who amazingly, like suddenly after this game, didn't want to talk about it anymore. Isn't that
What a
strange?
shame.
That's the one thing he's been bleating on about since the game against us was postponed on the 1st of January or end of December, whenever it was. And suddenly didn't want to talk about it. So as we know, the game was postponed, and it was by the rules of the league, of course. It's not like we did anything underhanded, at least on the face of it. We obviously had fewer than 14 fit players, which was the rule at the time due to COVID and injuries, which meant we couldn't fulfill the fixture properly. And we made an application because of that. It was adjudicated by the panel at the Premier League, and they decided, yes, that's fine, that's warranted. You can have that game postponed, and that's what got the game cancelled. Now, I don't think any of us can sit here and say, look, absolutely 100% that request was 100% legit. Nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors. Might have been a bit of funny buggers in there. I mean, we had the Everton game postponed as well. You think back to that card that Manquillo picked up against Man United right in the death of that game, where not what's happening. He just kind of does a random thing and he gets a yellow card for it. And I think he gets a suspension, doesn't he, against Everton for that one? And I know Jack in particular, he was like, wait a minute, that looked a bit deliberate. So I am open to the possibility that there could have been some gamesmanship, let's call it, going on there to try and get the games postponed. We were in a bit of a mess, couldn't buy a win. So I think there's potential for that, and maybe a bit of piss taking happening. Nobody can say for sure, but the sheer amount of complaining from Hasselhoff seems to me, and I know a few others, that to be well out of proportion to the situation. If you take into consideration the fact that we put an application in, Premiership adjudicated, Premiership said yes, that's fine. We didn't do anything out of order in that sense. I mean, Brentford had a game postponed against them before our game was postponed against them, and I never heard a bloody squeak about that game. So I don't know if Hasselhoff just doesn't like us. I don't know if it was because it was a perfect chance to get 3 points from us because we were shit at that point. Maybe he's talking in general terms about the Brentford game and the Newcastle game. Sometimes can be lost in translation. He's not English after all, so his words might not always mean what we hear. But so that's my thoughts on it. Do you either of you boys have any opinion on this? I know we've talked a bit about it today. Dimi first, maybe. Do you have any? Am I being fair there? I'm trying to be balanced on this because we genuinely don't know what happens behind the scenes. But what's your thoughts on it, Dimi? Just very quickly, and then Craig.
Well, you're a lot kinder than me. I don't have the same opinion. I think he can go get staffed, and if his team's good enough, they would have beat us. I mean, complaining about it for 2.5 months that, we got the game postponed, you shouldn't use the January signings. I mean, this is ridiculous. So I'm sure there would have been players on his team that wouldn't have played that game for injury, suspension, whatever, that for that same notion couldn't have played. So tell your story walking is what I would say to him, and 2-1, bye-bye.
Craig, are you going to be generous or are you going to be cutthroat?
Bit cutthroat, to be honest, because I do think it was a dig at us because of our newfound wealth. They knew we would strengthen the window. We would strengthen more than anybody else. Not only because we had to, but the fact that we could as well. And everyone knew that we would have a better starting 11 when the game was going to be replayed, whenever the rescheduled date was going to be for. And we didn't even have all of our players out, all the new players, because, Trippier was injured. Bruno went off after an hour with an injury, cramp, whatever it may have been. And we only had Target, who was a loanee, and Dan Burn, who came in from Brighton. They're the only two that finished the game. And they were never going to set the world alight in terms of transfers or anything like that. And the thing that I actually find quite funny in terms of shithousery, which means that they were having a slight dig at us, was the songs that they played at halftime. The whole money, 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 and that type of shit.
Good. I enjoyed
So
that.
they were clearly rattled by that game being called off, and that just shows it. That just proves it. They were being petty, and if anything, a little bit pathetic. But I've got to commend them on the shithousery of it. I thought it was quite good.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. I thought it was quite funny.
Mhm.
All right, maybe I'm being too generous, but yeah, I don't know. We were in a very terrible situation, so that suspension worked to our favour. You have to
Thanks,
say.
Banky.
So we've got some table and some next games to come up, but before we do that, let's have a look at some of these stats. Oh, stat off! All right. Craig, do you want to pick? Let's do like a kind of carousel thing. I'll not go first because I'm talking. Craig, you go first. Pick your favorite. Dimi, you do one. I'll do one, and we'll just keep going until we get bored.
Well, this one is technically it's a Southampton stat, but they've only lost one game at home all season. Then we rock up and we piss on their bonfire, you know. And I think that is a cracking stat. Another away day win, which I think we now unbeaten in 4 away games. Is it starting at Leeds? I think it was, which is
That sound like 2 stats.
Sounds right. Maybe 5.
I think it could be right. Yeah, it's,
Brentford,
you know,
West Ham,
Brentford, West Ham, Leeds, and
Leeds, Saints.
now Southampton. Yeah,
4, yeah.
it's 4. So, you know, and we piss on their bonfire. We put it out with every last little drop that we've got, and long may that continue.
All right, thanks for the visuals there. Dimi, do you want to pick a stat?
I will. So the first 18 games, so let's say the first half of the season, we picked up 10 points. In the preceding or in the next 9 games, we've picked up 21 points. I mean, if you told us after 18 games when we're doing this pod that we're going to pick up 21 points in the next 9 games, we would have thought you're going to the funny farm. You aren't right in the head. It's there is no chance. So I think that's staggering to show the improvement and the turnaround.
All right, I'm going to steal one of Bobby's stats. Newcastle have picked up the same number of Premier League points in 2022 as Norwich, Leeds, and Watford combined. How's that?
Yeah.
How's that? Unbelievable. All right, Craig, over to you.
This one is more of a legacy type stat. So basically, we've taken 6 points from a possible 42 since Southampton have played at St Mary's on that one. Not a bad return because if you look back from when we played at the Dell in the Premier League, we never won a single game. We had 1 or 2 draws, but every time was a loss, and that was over 8 games. But 16 out of 42, it's not a bad return considering how dreadful we were on our travels at some point.
So St Mary's a bit of a happy hunting ground for us, isn't it? I actually remember being there for an away game once when Rat Boy Phillips, he was injured. He came back on after some rehabilitation. So that was his return game. And the game finished 3-3, but he went off injured again. And we all give him massive amounts of shit. It was hilarious. Dimi, what's your next favourite?
So this one's a bit of a general one, but in all the top European leagues since the turn of the year, only Liverpool have taken more points than us. I mean, to even say that out loud, we've got equal points with Barcelona, even though Barcelona aren't the same team this season, but we're the third or equal second highest team in Europe for points picked up in the 2022 calendar year. So that's just staggering. And to contrast it from where we were, that makes it even more staggering, to be honest.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this up. So Dubravka, this is my final one. Dubravka has yet to lose against Southampton in 6 games. How about that? Not surprised with a performance like that. All right, that'll do for that. Let's have a look at the table. And I've highlighted Chelsea here because we're going to talk about them soon. But there we are, still in 14th. I kind of felt a bit disappointed of all these wins. I was thinking, oh, get in, we'll be in 10th. And it was like, 14th? Oh, God, still. But look at that. I mean, we're 4 points clear of Brentford with a game in hand over them. So we are looking pretty good in 14th right now. Another win and some other results in our favour, and we could be moving right up into the halfway line here, up to 10th-ish, 11th. So for those who are listening, it's Norwich on the bottom with 17 points, Watford on 19 points, and then Burnley on 21 to complete the bottom 3. Then you've got Everton on 22, who are in a world of pain. Leeds on 23, who can't win a game. I think they've lost the last 6 in a row. Brentford on 27, as I've mentioned, and then Newcastle in 14th on 31. Let's have a look at some of the games that are coming up. So I took great pride in putting these big green ones on top of each of these results. So you can see I've stolen these results off the internet there. Brentford, we won. Newcastle, Brighton, we won. Southampton, Newcastle, we won. Next up, and what we're going to talk about next very quickly is Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. After that, it's then Everton. And then we have a bit of a break due to the internationals. And then we come back to play Spurs away before we finally get back home to play Wolves. So I think Bobby said that he'd be happy if we got 5 to 7 points from the Brighton, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Everton game. I think that's what he said. We've already got 6, so we're doing pretty well. Chelsea, we'll talk about them in a minute. Everton in dire straits. I think we can do something down at Everton before we go for a break. It would be nice to think we can. All right, so talk about Chelsea. Let's take a short break and we'll come back and we'll get into that preview. Alrighty, so this will have to be quick because we are taking forever on this. We do like a win, don't we? All right, so we are playing Chelsea at the Bridge on Sunday UK time, which is at least midnight, I think, in Australia if you're on the East Coast. Anyway, let's have a look at the form table. Where is it? Oh man, I could look at these things all day. Look at this, man. So again, for those who aren't looking, those who are listening, Arsenal in 10th, Southampton in 9th. They've gone up somehow. I don't know. West Ham on 8th, Villa on 7th, Spurs in 6th. Chelsea have dropped 1 to 5th. Wolves have gone up 1 to 4th. Then it's Liverpool in 3rd with a game in hand on us. City in 2nd, and the mighty bastard Mags sitting proud. 8 games played. This is the last 8. 1-6, drawn 2, and a big fat 0 in the L column. 13 goals for, 5 against. That's +8 for us and 20 points. That looks pretty sexy. What do you reckon, Dimi?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And as I keep reiterating, the turnaround's just staggering. And to think we're leading the mini league after 8 games of the last 8 games is just crazy.
Greg, can you put that into words without swearing or being overly sexual?
Dreamland.
That'll do.
Dreams, yeah. Would any of us predicted that would be the form table come 1st of January? Absolutely not.
Not in a million billion years, mate. Not in a million billion years. Yeah. Might change at the weekend. But for now, let's enjoy it. So, Chelsea. Can't really talk about Chelsea at the moment without mentioning the shit that they find themselves in all of a sudden, pretty much out of nowhere, because a day or two ago, their owner, Roman Abramovich, was hit by some sanctions from the UK government. Finally got the thumb out of their arse and decided to do something about the Russian owner. Of course, this is all to do with the conflict, the invasion, really, in Ukraine by Russia. So they've been sanctioned. The club has been locked down in many ways. They're not allowed to sell any players. They can't sign any new players. They can't even negotiate contracts, I read. All they can really do is keep the games playing. They can sell food on the day, catering, that kind of thing. I think they can't even sell fresh tickets to away fans or home fans. I don't know if that's changed, but that does raise the specter of having no away fans in future games. Now, luckily, Newcastle's game is only a few days away, so all of our fans have or should have received their tickets by now. So we get past that one just. Now, Craig, pretty horrible position for Chelsea to find themselves in. Obviously, the fans anyway, and the players even. How do you think that'll affect the players? Will it affect them at all? Bearing in mind that they've just went and beat Norwich. It was 3-1, wasn't 7-0, but they still got their heads together and managed to beat Norwich. Do you feel that's going to affect the players at all with everything that's going on around them?
I think the game last night happened too quickly after the announcement had been made, so it probably didn't sink in with them. I think over the next day or two, they'll read reports online, they'll get the newspapers, they'll get text messages from agents, that sort of thing. And I think they've got 5 or 6 players who are out of contract in the summer, and they just can't negotiate with them. and so they may want to stay with Chelsea, but at this moment in time they can't. So those players are going to be in limbo. It's up to their own professionalism to keep their head in the game, to try and block out all this negativity that's going on. And if it does get to them, I can kind of see why. But you'd think they'd keep a level head. They'd try and ignore what's going on, and hopefully, for Chelsea fans' sake, they'll continue to play some decent football.
Yeah. Well, not the weekend, obviously. They can play shite this weekend. That'd be fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And Dimi, tough question, I think, but do you feel like there's any chance that this situation, the longer it goes on, could spill over to Newcastle and their new owners? I know we've made a legal case that PIF and the Saudi Arabian government are separate entities, but obviously they're not. You've got the frigging Crown Prince sitting on the board for starters, and it's all their public money that we're talking about here. So clearly there's a connection between the two. And I don't know if you saw it, but the Saudis and the Russians have been getting a bit pally lately, whilst this invasion's been going on. MBS took a call from Putin, I believe, but didn't or refused to take a call from Biden. So there's a lot of gamesmanship going on. Obviously, Saudi Arabia are probably looking at just the cost of oil and reaping the profits, perhaps. That's as far as they're looking. Russia's obviously got some interest there as well with the amount of oil and gas they supply. Do you feel that if this continues to go on, do you feel that there may be that we may be dragged into it? And if not, could we be dragged into some future issue where the same end result occurs and we all get sanctioned at Newcastle and end ourselves up shit creek?
Do I think it'll happen? No, but I do think there'll be noise from certain sections of either football media or just general media who probably will put some pressure on our regime now, especially that PIF component. So I don't think the UK government would want to act because of their original relations now with the Saudis, and I know MBS and the Queen are very pally, so I'm not sure that's gonna. I'm not sure that's going to go down too well if they start having a crack at the Saudis. But I do think there will be a lot of media pressure saying, if Abramovich goes, why not MBS? But then where do you start? I mean, all around the world in football, there's owners and ownership groups who've got, let's call it, shady connections to different walks of life. So it's a very fine line to draw. I mean, this is pretty clear. It's public. Russia has invaded Ukraine. Putin and Abramovich are linked, so it's quite a clear thing for the UK government to do. Whereas there's a lot more grey area to attack different sets of owners, I think.
Yeah, probably right. I mean, in particular, Roman Abramovich's factories supply steel, I think it is, to the military complex, don't they, in Russia? So that's obviously a direct link. So I suppose it could happen to us if we start sending jets to Russia to help fight Ukraine's, I say us, I mean Saudi Arabia. Remains to be seen. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting thing to raise. But anyways, it obviously gives an interesting colour and flavour to this game that otherwise you might have just expected to be a hard slug. It'll be interesting to see how any of this reflects on the players and the narrative as well. Let's have a look at what we reckon the expected team will be, just quickly. I'll read this out. Dubravka at back. Target, Byrne, Shaw and Kraft. Shelvey with the captain's armband. Bruno and Joe Linton. And then ASM, if he's over his illness, Wood up front and Fraser down the wing. Now, we put that together pretty quick, but Craig, I suppose all things being equal, that pretty much picks itself, doesn't it?
It does. Bruno comes in for Willock, who didn't have his strongest game today. He didn't do anything wrong, but he didn't do anything overly right either. And I think he is probably the weakest out of the three of those over a 90-minute period, just because he doesn't seem to have the legs for it. And Joe Linton, as we know, he'll keep running for 190 minutes if you ask him to. And Shelvey, he does tire into the game, but he's got a bit more in the tank than what Willock has. And Bruno, he'll be on a high from the goal he just scored today. So that midfield picks itself, I'd say.
I actually thought Willock wasn't too bad. I mean, he could have done better with a header that sort of Sholoweski bounced off the top of his head like a 50-pence piece and went nowhere near the goal, but I didn't think it was too bad. He never stops running either. His fitness has gone right through the roof. Dimi, Kraft at the back. Would you swap him if Joe Linton and ASM aren't ready for it? Is it basically the same team? How do you see it?
Yeah, well, we've been saying for weeks we're expecting Mankio to come back, and it's never happened. So maybe we'll say Kraft is definitely going to start this week, and maybe that will change on Sunday night. But no, all jokes aside, I agree with Craig. I think Willick needs a rest. I think he does get through a lot of running, and he wasn't great today, but he did make a crucial block late in the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
which was fantastic. So yeah. I think he probably can do with the rest, and Joe Linton comes back. He's a definite in. ASM is the one that I think is probably touch and go to start, but if he doesn't, it would be Murphy back on the wing.
All right. That'll do for that slide. Let's get some quick predictions, and then we'll just wrap this up. Craig first.
Head says lost 2-0. Heart says 1-1 draw.
Oh, mate, this might be the first time you've predicted a loss, and you're usually right, aren't you? Dimi?
So you're probably going to call me crazy, but I just have a sneaky feeling that's all the pressure and the publicity that Chelsea will cop on the weekend. The atmosphere might be a bit tame from the Chelsea fans. Obviously, our fans will be up and about. We're confident. I've got a feeling that we're going to arse our way to a 1-0 victory with our big New Zealander up front to score another goal in the 83rd minute.
Jesus, mate. Another one to get on the bets, just in case. I would take that 1-0. My prediction, I think your head says, it's going to be a defeat because it's Chelsea. And actually, I kind of think it's the other way around with the crowd. I think the crowd will get right behind the team and spur them on in times of strife, So I think it could be quite raucous there in Stamford Bridge. And there could be no crowd there. They've got that much talent. I don't think it makes a lot of difference, to be honest. They're just that good. Some of the goals yesterday were sensational. I will... What did you say, Craig? I usually nick your predictions. What did you say? A draw?
2-1 loss or a 1-1 draw?
I think probably it'll be a 3-0 loss, but I'll go with a... What did you say for the draw? 1-1?
Aye.
That'll do. I'll go for 1-1. I'll stick with Craig until he's wrong. Actually, I haven't said that, Dimi. You got it absolutely spot on, didn't you, against Southampton? So maybe I should be listening to you. But
I think 2 or 3 in a row now.
I think, get you. I think as long as we don't lose and keep this whole momentum going. But that said, it doesn't matter if we do lose because we're not really expected to beat them anyway. So I don't think our confidence will dip too much if we do lose against Chelsea, as long as it's not an absolute flogging. Then we can go to Everton and say, all right, we're back to where we were. Everton is shit. Let's do them,
That's exactly right. As long as we're not getting hammered and we put up a performance that we can think, okay, they're a lot better than us. We've had a crack. Let's move on to Everton. As long as that happens, I think most fans will be pretty content, I'd say.
Agreed. All right. Let's leave it there then. Let's wrap it up. So our next show will indeed be the Chelsea review, probably Monday, maybe Tuesday. Keep an eye out for that. As always, thank you for watching or listening. We're available on Twitter at TuneUnderPod. Our website is tuneunder.com, and we are on YouTube and Facebook too, of course. Just search for Tune Under Podcast. Don't forget to do all that likey, followy, subscribe stuff. Keep your questions and comments coming in, please. We do like to do those Q&As. We'd like to do one in the international break, maybe. So get your questions into us, please. Keep them coming. We do like those things. And that's it. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Stay safe out there. How are the mighty mags, man? Come on. Cheers, boys.